Greetings, Patrick here, and welcome to another edition of Dollar Theater. Dollar Theater is an ongoing series created by our good friend Hobbs Horror, in which we watch and review movies that we have gotten for $1.25 or less. And it could be any movie that you get, as long as it's $1.25 or less. So, wow, here at Have Cheetah Will View, we like to watch all sorts of things, and it's surprisingly how many movies that we have in our watch pile that we have actually gotten for $1.25 or less. And today I thought I'd go over a movie that I got a long time ago. I even reviewed it before on my blog, but I saw it sitting there looking at me, and I said, you know what? For the next 2 weeks, this is what me and the Cheetah will talk. We'll talk about it. So the film that we'll be talking about today is one of two, and it is Dick Tracy and Nancy Drew. Now I got this for $1 over at Target back when Target was doing dollar movies, and this is a pair of public domain movies for $1, and it features Dick Tracy Meets Gruesome. It has a cartoon on it, and also has Nancy Drew Reporter. And these were part of a pair of series that ran on their respective studios. For Dick Tracy, it was RKO. They created a 4-film series of Dick Tracy, who was created by Chester Gould. So these are, like I said, these are public domain movies. You can get these anywhere. So Dick Tracy Meets Gruesome came out in 1947 as a black and white film. Comes out at 65 minutes, and it's fast. And it has star power too. Let me tell you, these little movies like these, when you look at them, you don't really think too much of them until you start poking around at them, and then once you do, then you realize that holy crow. For Dick Tracy Meets Gruesome, Gruesome is played by none other than the immortal horror icon Boris Karloff. Boris Karloff plays Gruesome in this film, and he's amazing. He's actually amazing. Didn't phone it in. Dick Tracy is played by Ralph Bird, who actually became really, really well known as for playing the Dick Tracy role. That was pretty much his call to fame. We also had in an uncredited cameo, but yet another icon is Lex Barker, who went on to who played Tarzan in several well-received films. So, what is Dick Tracy Meets Gruesome? Well, it is a thriller crime drama. It was directed by director John Rollins, and this was actually the 4th and the final film in the Dick Tracy series. Now, I think that pretty much had to do with the fact that World War II was over, and people were more into more adult-themed movies, and I think that's pretty much what happened. I think people just they just weren't into this, into the escapism as it was. So though it doesn't take away from how fun this movie is, because this movie is fun. And so the movie features Gruesome getting out of jail, and he goes to the Hangman Saloon, and he meets his pal Melody. Now, it's one thing about Dick Tracy a lot of people might remember is that Chester Gould had a very unusual way of naming his villains and the characters in his comic, such as all his characters, all his rogue cavalry had fancy names, had like Mumbles and Muggs and Melody. It was actually supposed to be Melody, but it's Melody. He also had in here. We also had some famous names in here as well, including a doctor called A Atomic, so Doctor Atomic, and it was just a lot of silliness when it came down to wordplay for the comic strip. So anyway, Boris gets out, or Gruesome gets out, and he needs to score right away. So Melody says, "I got an idea. We'll go hit this chemical plant and plastic manufacturer They go over there, and Gruesome, after being told not to touch anything, like a parent telling a child, "Don't touch that." Well, of course, Gruesome, not being the smartest guy on the block, well, he touches it and he gets gassed. It looks like he dies. In fact, his body goes into pretty much instant rigor mortis. Well, he doesn't. He actually gets out of it and finds out really what it is. It's a gas. It's a freezing gas. I mean, if you get hit with it, you instantly freeze. And what happened with him was he inhaled it, which is not really what you're supposed to do with it. You're supposed to spray it in the air, and people freeze that way. So he sort of misused it. See, kids, just say no to drugs. So anyway, the Gruesome and Melody, they decided that they're going to go ahead and rob a bank, get some cash, and it works. Except that Melody panics as they're making their escape, and she kills a cop, which brings down the entire city down on Gruesome and Melody. Meanwhile, Dick is after the gang as well, and he's trying to, Dr. Atomic is saying that he feels that people are after him, and Dick Tracy is trying to keep him safe. He's actually trying to keep him safe from Gruesome. Gruesome doesn't want anybody to know about the gas and the secret behind the gas. And of course, this leads up to several chases and fights, and a climatic shootout back at the plastic factory, where Dick and Gruesome go face to face. All right. Fun movie. 65 minutes long. This is what I don't know if they would actually call this a Poverty Row movie. I think this movie had a very low budget. Of course, it had a very low budget, but I wouldn't necessarily say it was a Poverty Row picture. I do think it was a franchise picture. Like I said, 1 of 4. So they probably had a very set budget. Getting Boris Karloff, of course, was probably the big get. I'm sure he got more than the average actor, and I'm sure it was probably RKO's attempt to keep the series alive by having someone like Boris Karloff's reputation come into the picture. I mean, Boris Karloff is a well-known horror icon, and he had tremendous fan base, and but I'm not so sure if they would have liked him in this movie, because he's not playing a horror icon. He's playing a criminal. He's playing a thief. So who's to know how well the movie did as far as the box office go? I will say that he played it straight. I mean, and it was the movie is a lot of fun. Has some in jokes in it. When Gruesome knocks out Pat's assistant, or Dick Tracy's assistant's Pat. And Dick asked him what he looked like, and Pat says he looked like Boris Karloff, so which it was. So that's so small in jokes like that really make the movie lighter. I'm not really necessarily sure they needed to show the cop getting killed per se. I mean, up to that point, and after that point, the movie was a lot of fun. I mean, there was risk involved in it, robbing a bank, trying to get away with it, daring do and what have you. Sometimes a movie will push it just a little bit too far. Maybe it was their way, Rollins' way of making it not like a straight comedy, which it wasn't. It does not play as a comedy. It does play as a crime caper, and with the gas involved in it, it has those elements of sci-fi in it. But I guess they needed to get over the bad guys as being really bad guys. So, not bad for 1947. Real fast film. This probably got played with another double feature film when it was released. I'm sure it was not the main feature at all. I'm sure it was probably 1 of 3 films that they would show all day, every day at a theater. And like I said, this is in the public domain, so you'll be able to find this at you can find this on any Mill Creek collection. You can probably find it here on YouTube. No problem with that. In fact, I already know our second movie that we'll be talking about next week is on YouTube as a public domain movie. But I had a lot of fun with this, and I hope you did too. Hope you enjoyed the review. I will look for this to see if this is on YouTube. If it is, I will put that down below, and you can go ahead and check out Dick Tracy Meets Gruesome. All right, that's it for us. We will be back next Monday, and I can already tell you what we'll be watching next Monday. We will be watching the second half of this film, of this little two film collection, and that is Nancy Drew Reporter. We will be watching that next Monday, and we hope that you will come out and join us. All right, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you soon. Peace.